All right, guys, I made this video to help you guys out with the Deltamath assignment for today. Since I'm not going to be here, so I'm going to help you walk through that. Before you begin, please, 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 just remember tomorrow we're doing quiz retakes. Sign up, okay? Pick two quizzes that you are going to do. Pick two quizzes you're going to do. Remember, you can just do one. If you want to do like three, that's fine. But pick two. If you end up, I know some people said that can they do three? That's okay. Just sign up for two, and then we'll handle the third one if you have time. Okay, but make sure you sign up, get that done. Okay, before you do this. Okay, fill all this out. Just pick two quizzes. That way, I know. Don't forget, submit assignments using Cam Scanner and Google Slides from now on, please. Okay, instructions are down here on how to do that. Okay, because remember, tomorrow, quiz retakes, minimum day. We're not really doing much or nothing new, so it's just going to be makeup. So really, you guys have no Edpuzzles this week. You got one assignment. This should be the week you get caught up, okay? All right, so let's get on with it. We're going to work on the Deltamath assignment. You can find the post right here in the week 6 folder, in today's folder, the block day folder. All right, right there. And I've got this little chart that's going to help you guys out a little bit. Okay, so we'll come back to that. All right, so first thing is finding reference angles. What is a reference angle? Reference angle is how far is an angle away from the x-axis, okay? Everything is how far are you from the x-axis in degrees. All right, so the first thing you do is if it's 205, I rotate it and go to 205. Gotta find 205 right there. Okay, now I've got to figure out the reference angle. And this thing kind of shows you what that is. It's this distance in degrees, that little red thing right there. So basically, it's how far in degrees is 205 from 180. All right, well, that's 205. I can use the calculator here. Let me move my head out of the way. All right, so if I reset this, oops, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. How do I clear this out? I'm trying to get this stuff out of the way. Get out of my way. Okay. Is there like a clear button? Oh, here we go. All right, so 205 minus 180. Okay, that's 25. So the reference angle is 25. Try it, submit it, get it right. Yay, green check mark. Okay, so let me close this up a little bit. Move this a little bit more. Okay, so let's do another one. Okay, so this one 113. So 113's about right there. Oh, a little bit more. Right there. All right, so and again, it's how far is it from 180? So I need to figure out the difference. So instead, this time I'm going to do 180 minus 113. That's 67. So the reference angle is 67. Again, how far is it from the x-axis? Okay. Deltamath, come on, hurry up. Oh, it freezes. If it freezes on you like that, just go ahead and refresh it. It'll come back. Okay. Oh, you know, it's because I logged out. Sorry. Give me a moment. Okay, we're back. All right, so one more of those. Rotate it 43 degrees. What's the difference between there and there? Well, that one's easy. It's 43. Okay. Anything in the quadrant 1 is pretty simple. It's just whatever it is there. And also remember, you got to know the quadrants because one of these questions is going to ask you what quadrant is the angle in. So know these quadrants. I've also got a picture of them right here. All right, so let's do that one. I'm hoping to get one that's here, kind of like in that 360 area. Maybe I can get one there. Ah, perfect. Well, not really. Let's just go to the next section. All right, now 323 degrees. Let's see where that's at. That's somewhere between 270 and 360. So if it's between here and there, it's again how far from 360 or the x-axis. So basically now we're going to do 360 minus 23. Okay, so pull out that calculator again. 360 minus 323. That's going to be 37. So now it's the same thing. You just don't get a picture now. All right, and you can see here, there's where it's at. It's the distance from there to there. Okay, did I get that one wrong? Oh, yeah. And then I just subtract those two numbers. Okay. All right, this one, angle rotation 167. 167 is between 90 and 180, so it's in here. So now I'm going to do 180 minus 167 to get that reference angle. So now 180 minus 167, that's 13. All right, if you need to fast forward to see the other problems, that's fine. If you already get this, you can always move forward. All right, so let's go to the next section. All right, now for the rotation of 929, find the coterminal angle. Coterminal. Let's do a quick example. Coterminal means a same angle, but different number. And remember, you add or subtract 360 to repeatedly until you get to a angle that is between 0 and 360. So if I, for instance, have 1,140, I'm going to subtract until I get to a number between 0 and 360. I subtracted once, I subtracted twice, I subtracted 3 times until I got to 60, and now I can figure out where that's at. All right, so let's go back to my problem. Mine, I'm going to take 929, subtract 360. I get 569. That's not between 0 and 360. So I'll do it again. Minus 360. 209. That works. Okay. 209 is between 0 and 360. So that is a coterminal angle. Which lies where? Okay. Let's go back to this little chart. I posted this again. It's in the homework folder. Okay. 209. That's somewhere between 180 and 270. So that means it's in quadrant 3. What's the reference angle? Just like the last problem. Okay, so if it's 209, it means it's right here. How far is 209 from 180? Subtract. So 209 minus 180. It's 29 degrees. Okay, that's how you find your reference angle. I'll do one more because people in my last class had trouble with this. All right, now I have a negative angle. Okay, so if I have a negative angle, I need to add 360 this time. Okay, remember, it has to be positive. So negative 861 plus 360 this time, plus 360. And now we're at negative 141. It's still not between 0 and 360. I have to get it one more time. Plus 360. Now it's between 0 and 360. 219. Okay, so 219. What quadrant is that in? Okay, 219 is right between here. So that's also in quadrant 3. Just go ahead and use the chart or just Google quadrants, okay, and angles. All right, now if it's 219, how far away is it from the x-axis? Well, that's 219 minus 180. Again, if it's over here, you're subtracting from 360, okay? Just remember that. But because we're on this side, it's how far from 180. All right, so basically 219 minus 180, that's a reference angle of 39, okay? All right, let's go to the next one, the last one. All right, trig ratio from a point. Now this one is also going to have to be done in the packet. So when you guys get to these problems down here, you're going to do the same thing. All right, so I'm going to work these out over here to the left on this piece of paper here. All right, so if an angle is in standard position and its terminal side passes through the point 12, negative 5, find the exact value for cosecant. Okay, cosecant. All right, now when you do the ones in the packet, you're going to have to do all 6 of them. Not just cosecant, but sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. All right, so let me show you how to set this up. You make a little graph. Make a little graph. And then where would 12, negative 5 be? Well, 12 would be a little bit to the right. And 5 would be a little bit down. Negative 5. Okay, I'm going to draw a point where they meet. And then I'm going to draw a line from the origin to that point. I will always, the next line will go back to the x-axis. So I'll go up to here. Okay, so for instance, if I had another triangle, let's just say my point was here. I draw a line back to the origin and then down to the x-axis. Here's another one. Let's say it's down here. Back to the origin, up to the x-axis. Let's do another one. Let's say the point's here. Back to the origin. This is incorrect. Do not go to the y-axis. I'll go back to the origin and down to the x-axis. That's how you draw them, okay? And you're going to draw in the little theta symbol. Okay, so the theta symbol always goes in the corner that's right next to the origin or the center of the graph. So for instance, this one, theta would be here, theta would be here. That's the wrong graph, but for this one, theta would be here. You always draw it right there at the center, okay? All right, now that, if you notice, formed a triangle. And this side right here is the length of -5 because we went down 5. This side is 12. Okay, so we have a triangle with two sides. Okay, and it's asking us to find the cosecant. Now remember, this is an inverse function. Okay, this is the inverse to sine. And you're going to need to get out your notes for 9.2 so you can know what these are. Okay, remember sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So that means cosecant is going to be hypotenuse. Remember, it's flipped, reciprocal, over opposite. Okay, so that means from theta, I need the opposite side and the hypotenuse side. There's the opposite. Oops, we don't have the hypotenuse side, which means we got to find it. Okay, so that means we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared. -5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. Okay, so now -5 squared, that's 25. 12 squared, that's 144. Okay, so add these two up, we get 169. And then we're going to square root that. Square root that, we get 13. Okay, so that missing side is 13. So now hypotenuse over opposite. Hypotenuse over opposite, -5. Okay, so 13 over -5. Reduce it if you can. This case, and also make sure you include those negatives. And if it's like two negatives, that will become positive. Okay. Yeah. I want to do one more. Okay, let's do another one like that, because I know these can be a little confusing and tough. And actually, let's go ahead and go to the packet. Okay, so let's focus on the packet now. Okay, so now in the packet, the first one is draw a diagram and give a reference angle. Determine what quadrant it's in. We already did this. Okay, so 105, it's about right here. There's my diagram. The reference angle is how far is it from there to there? Remember, it's basically 180 to 105. 180 to 105, that's 75 degrees. There's your reference angle. What quadrant is this in? This is going to be quadrant dos. Okay, that's how you do all these. And remember, if it's not between 0 and 360, convert it. So here we got to add 360 first. Plus 360, 245. Okay, so now we graph that. That's about here. And then what's the distance from the x-axis? The smallest distance. So that's 245 to 180. So we're going to subtract 245 minus 180. That's going to be, what is that, 60? 65. Okay, and that is in quadrant 3. Okay, so that's how you do those. The ones that are down here are the hardest ones. Okay, and what I want you guys to do is you are going to cross out some of these. You're going to cross out this one, and just to make room, and you're going to, on the top here, you're going to cross out this one. Okay, so now I'm going to go over this one here because this is the toughest one. The one I showed you like on Deltamath, that's going to be more like these two here. The ones I just did in Deltamath are more like this. This one is going to have a square root in it, so it's going to be a little harder. Okay. All right. So first I make my little triangle. It's at -3 and -6. So I make the point, go back to the origin, and then draw to the x-axis. And then theta is right here. Okay. So this side is -6 because that's how far down it is. And this side is -3. Okay, so this side I'm going to need to find because on this one I had to do all 6 of the trig ratios, not just the cosecant or not just one of them. All right, so let's find that missing side. So -3 squared, -6 squared equals c squared. All right, 3 squared, that's 9. 6 squared is 36. Add those up, we get 45. And then if I square root this, use your calculator or birthday cake, it's going to do birthday cake and simplify that to 3 times square root of 5. Okay? Now it's time to work. Okay, so that means this side right there is 3 square root 5. Okay? And let me just draw that triangle, kind of like draw it out, make it a little bigger just so we can make sense of all this. Theta's right here, -3 is right there, -6 is here, and this side is 3 square root 5. Okay? So first we're going to do sine. Sine is opposite the theta over hypotenuse. -6 over 3 rad 5. And we're going to have to simplify this, by the way. But before we simplify this, I'm going to write them all out. Okay? So cosine, because some are similar, so I want to see you have you guys see that. Adjacent over hypotenuse, so -3 over 3 square root 5. Okay? And then lastly, tangent, which is, I think, the easiest one here, is opposite over adjacent. -6 divided by -3. This one's simple. -6 divided by -3 is 2. Okay. This is the one that requires an extra step. Okay. We can't have a square root, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify the 6 over 3 and the 3 over 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I can divide these two, and that 3 basically cancels out, and I just have -2 left on top, and I get square root of 5 on the bottom. Here, -3 divided by 3, well, that's -1. So -1 goes on top, and then I have square root of 5 on the bottom. Okay, let me focus up just a little bit. Okay, now to get rid of square roots on the bottom in the denominator, I need to multiply the exact same square root on the top and the bottom. So I do that here and here. All right, so I just multiply square root up here on the top and the bottom. I know this gets funky. And then what happens is that I just multiply -2 times square root of 5, which is just, that you can't do anything. So it just becomes -2 times square root of 5. But when you multiply square root of 5 times square root of 5, the square root cancels out and you just have 5. Same thing here, -1 times square root of 5. Well, that's just negative square root of 5. And then that on the bottom becomes 5. So that is your final ratio for sine and cosine. Okay, now cosecant is the inverse for sine. Secant is the inverse for tangent. And then cotangent is the inverse for tangent. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, remember, it's just a reciprocal. It's just the same thing flipped. But I'm not going to flip my final answer, because if I flip my final answer, I'm going to have the square root on the bottom again. So I'm going to go back and notice that there's 3 steps here. There's the first step, the second step, and the third step. One of them is already simplified to where if I flip it, I don't have to do anything with it. And that's this step right here. Because if I flip this step, I don't have to cancel out the 6 and the 3. And I don't have to multiply square root. So if I flip this step, this just becomes negative square root of 5 over 2. I flip this one, this just becomes negative square root of 5, because 1 will be on the bottom, so that just kind of cancels itself out. And then if I do the reciprocal of 2, remember this is pretty much like 2 over 1, this becomes 1 over 2. Okay? So that is how you do that. Now, when you do like this one, 9 and 10, and number 13, it's going to be a lot simpler than that. You're not going to have to deal with like these square roots and stuff. But that's why I wanted to go over that one with you guys. Okay? And the rest is just review of what we'd already done before. Okay?